Just about there, waiting for the YouTube to.
Yeah, we can catch up to you.
Very strange.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, we have a quorum. Call meeting order. Reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Move it. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Additions, corrections, comments. Lacking any? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Bills, communications.
So.
So
we have-
moved.
Great.
There's a second.
Second.
Grace.
Yes.
Bills, communications.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna approve them.
Do that.
No, we gotta hear them first.
Oh. He started
You're
with a
not here just
motion.
for your good looks, you know.
He started with a motion. I thought he was good.
No, you
Okay.
had the motion, then you had discussion.
Oh. So we have the NICEAG bill, which is higher this month than last month, but we would expect that at this point in the year to see that start going up. And then we have the Michael services, MRB services. A bill from Harris Beach for $2,277. The chamber annual dinner, the ticket for Michael for the annual dinner. And then we have kind of our monthly technology bills. One thing to note on QuickBooks is that we have finally resolved the duplicate account issue. And so that will officially be down to one account a month that we're paying for. So that you'll see that will drop starting in November. And that's all the bills.
Thank you. Discussion, questions? Lacking any? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Update, Executive Director.
Sure, everybody has my written report in their packet as always. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Some of the verbal updates I can share with the board is that Ray and I met with Doug Wayne to discuss the potential acquisition of adjacent land, the mall property. We're hopefully going to hear back from Doug sometime next week about what a potential scenario might look like there. So pulling up some good optimism on that one there. I did speak with the Brutus Town Supervisor about some potential land for acquisition up within that township there. Jim has been out of the country most of this month. I'm looking to reconnect with him early next week to see any advances on that area there. Still in touch with the one other property we've been discussing most of this year, as expecting no real update for this month on that end. I had shared with most of you earlier, we did have a great investor come into town just yesterday. Actually, I unfortunately can't share too many details on the potential prospect there. But if Cayuga County is a potential landing spot, I ought to have some information on that over the next couple of weeks, and we'll look to share more information as possible moving forward there. Lastly, working with Chris Coloca on the Restore New York application for the former Emily Holland building over in the town of Scipio. I'll actually be on the phone with Chris tomorrow to go through that process once more. We started it much earlier this year, but pumped the brakes on that due to everything else Chris had going on at the time. But there is another round open this fall. The initial application has to be in October 23rd, the final application due in December. So part of that project, I'm working with Chris on it, is also his interest of IDA benefits to supplement the project as well. That's everything I have from my verbal updates. Again, if you have any questions related to my written ones, happy to answer them.
Questions? Thank you. Treasurer's report.
You, in the packet, do have your standard balance sheet and P and L. We did clean up a few more of those unclear transactions, one of which was a pilot payment to the county that it got recut and signed today. So we cleared out that check and issued a new one. We'll get that to the county. All of the funds did move around as expected. And the pilot billing, so we had talked about moving funds from the Generations checking account to Cayuga Lake National Bank, and we're now using the Generations checking account for pilots specifically, so it's easier to track those payments coming in and out. We did bill pilots for the school. There's always a fall billing for school districts and an Aurora for the village. So all of those bills went out, and we did get one payment back. That is also in the checks for disbursement. And then, which I think Michael will talk more about later. But otherwise, nothing, I don't think there's anything of huge note here. Just that things are continually getting better in the books, and QuickBooks is looking a lot better.
Pilots were done on time.
And correctly. So, we're happy.
I just want to take John's position here.
Yes. I'll say from my perspective, working with Tracy and her team on this, it's been a very smooth transition. As you mentioned, our QuickBooks system is in much better shape. Touching on the banking there, as Tracy briefly mentioned, we did make that switch over the last month. That Cayuga Lake National Bank will be our primary operational checking for now. We've opted, after discussion with John, is to keep our CD in place with Generations. Its maturity date is in May of next year, so we feel comfortable with that. For the time being, it has been my recommendation, rather than pulling in another banking institution, which would bring it to 3, is just keep it with the 2 for now. And once that CD becomes mature next year, then make that decision to potentially work with another institution as approved by the board.
A motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll say update on sewer line, board committee and officer nominations.
You're recommending that we move down to new business?
Sure.
Okay. We'll start with the first one here, sub item A, Finger Lakes Rail. What's on the schedule for today is the initial project resolution. As I understand it, we have a couple of representatives from Finger Lakes Rail here today to help answer any questions about their application for the board. So for those of you from Finger Lakes Rail, if you could please introduce yourself and speak a bit about your project.
Hi, it's actually just me today, Michael. It's Veronica Fields with Finger Lakes Railway. Our president is kind of en route and is stuck on a plane right now. So, so Finger Lakes Railway, as most of you are aware, is a small business short line railroad serving 39.
Somebody else on the phone speak?
I'm sorry?
Someone needs to mute.
Still speaking, there's nothing.
Huh.
Can you hear me okay?
It's better now. Someone didn't have their.
Okay. Okay. So as I was saying. Okay, sure. So as I was saying, we serve 39 active customers in upstate New York, including in Cayuga County, Nucor Steel, Owens, Illinois, Caravel, Auburn Metals, Helena Agra, Dumont Farms, and other New York ag producers and their suppliers. The nation's short line railroads operate nearly 50,000 miles of track, much of which serve rural America. So in most cases, a short line is the connection to the national rail network. And we service the first or last miles in a supply chain. For Finger Lakes Railway's rail line, we run east to west. We start at Solvay, we go through Auburn to Geneva, and we continue west to Canandaigua and Shortsville. And that includes a branch line between Penn Yan and Watkins Glen, which is connected to the rest of the rail system via trackage rights that we have with Norfolk Southern. In Cayuga County, it's the Auburn Road line. That's our main line, which connects the eastern rail yards in Solvay to the western Geneva yard. All of Finger Lakes Railway's terminating and originating traffic comes in or out either through Solvay or Geneva. So we're here today to request assistance through the continuation of our pilot agreement that we had with the multi counties. So heavy property taxes and low traffic volumes resulted in great lack of investment and maintenance by the predecessors of Finger Lakes Railway. Most of you are already aware that a lot of the larger national railroads began an effort to shed their what they called their light density or unprofitable lines, and they sold them to short line operators. So Finger Lakes Railway in 1995, with a shared approach with the 6-county pilot agreement, ensured the preservation of this New York rail network. It was several sections of it were actually taken out of service and were part of the abandonment process. Our obligation then under that partnership was to provide transportation service that would grow the business of existing rail customers while also providing the IDAs the ability to attract new industries into our region. In cooperation with each county IDA, I believe that we have done that successfully. So the project is basically the ongoing maintenance and ongoing upgrades that Finger Lakes Railway is making, which are significant investments. Basically an increase in tax liability would cripple the railroad's ability to be able to move forward with investments in the future. I would just remind, probably you don't need the reminder, but we are a key component of each county's infrastructure, and it is critical for economic development, just like the local and state highways are. Many of our important industries wouldn't have located or remained or grown in our region if not for the availability of rail and the service provided by Finger Lakes Railway. So that's kind of the ask. We're looking for 15 years is what we put in our application, the request. We hope that it can remain the same. And I'm happy to go over, our 29 years of growth if you would like. I know a lot of that's already in the application, but, I'm happy to answer any of those questions specific to Cayuga. The specific Cayuga County reinvestments by Finger Lakes Railway for capitalized improvements. We were able to extract that information out, and it totaled 7.1 million. Our 5-year spend over the network was 16.8 million for track maintenance and 13.3 million for capital improvements. So as you can see by those numbers, it's definitely a capital intensive railroad and infrastructure. So if you have any questions or if I can elaborate on anything else, I'm happy to do so.
Any questions from the board here for Veronica or any member of her team?
So they're looking to extend the existing pilot.
I believe it's not necessarily an extension, it's something of a new one here, but Justin can better explain how it's approached here.
Well, there was a pilot from
Mhm.
95 till now.
That was an extension from, I want to say 2015, 2016 through the end of this year. Or going in 2025. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Justin.
I can provide a little bit of background. The original pilot was deployed in 1995 and was subject to a renewal upon approval of each of the IDAs in 2015. That was told for about 6 months until February of 2016, where a specific 10-year extension was provided at that time. That extension and the pilot are scheduled to expire as of June 30th of 2025. There's no current renewal option, so they've submitted applications to each of the 6 IDAs requesting an extension that hasn't been negotiated yet. So the question today is to simply accept their application and allow continued conversations regarding what kind of extension might be negotiated and finalized.
Well, what kind of numbers are you looking at?
Don't know yet.
Don't know.
All right.
I'll make the motion to at least start negotiations, see
Second,
where it goes from there.
Is there discussion on continuing negotiating a pilot? Donnie, you got questions?
I do not this.
You look like you had a
I
question mark.
know. I'm like, trying to absorb it first, but no, not at this time. Thank you.
yeah,
All in favor?
I,
aye,
Any opposed? Carried.
Reading a resolution and a roll call vote.
Oh, you want to roll call?
Yes, I would like to read the heading of the resolution.
Oh, okay.
Would you like me to do that?
Please.
Forget the prior vote.
And then I'll do the roll call. So this is the resolution of the Cayuga County Industrial Development Agency accepting the application of Finger Lakes Railway Corp., the company, with respect to the extension of a certain project as more fully defined in the resolution, and authorizing the scheduling and conduct of a public hearing with respect to the project, describing the forms of financial assistance being contemplated by the agency, and authorizing negotiation of certain agreements relating to the project. So once we get through negotiations, that this will also authorize the scheduling of the public hearing. And for roll call, we have Mr. Vitale,
yes.
Mr. Shea,
Yes.
Mr. Latinishton is excused, Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yeah.
Ms. Spino,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan Flesh.
yes,
All members present voting, aye. One absent, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Geraldine Station.
Yes, moving on to our next item, which is under new business, sub item B, New York US Light Energy Sterling Station. I believe we also have representatives for this project application in your packet here. For those on the phone representing the project, if you could please introduce yourself and describe the project.
Hi, all. This is Paige Byer from Barclay Damon on behalf of the project. I'm here with my colleague Ari Goldberg, as well as Abule Balo and George Kazayas from the project entity. I just also want to apologize for the lack of camera and any background noise you might hear. I'm in transit, so apologize for that. But some quick facts about the project. So the applicant is proposing development of a 2-megawatt solar array located at 935 Sterling Station Road in the town of Sterling. Just for your information, this is a subdivided property, and the subdivision was approved back in May 2024. So a few months ago by the Sterling Planning Board, and that subdivided parcels where the solar array will be located. This is a ground-mounted single-access tracking system that will be connected to RG&E. And I think I've covered kind of just the broad aspects of the project, but we're seeking financial assistance in the form of a pilot and a sales tax exemption. And anyone, Ari, George, or Abule, please chime in if I've missed anything.
Nothing from me.
Yeah, nothing from me either.
How many acres is this?
33.
Looking at, right?
So the subdivided parcel is about 24 acres.
How are you with the local labor law?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you say how are we with the local labor or
I say,
where we are?
How are you with the local labor law?
So USLE in general, we try in good faith to hire locally. We haven't begun any outreach at the moment just because the outreach kind of depends on whether or not we are able to secure a pilot. But in all of the projects, they've reached out in good faith and tried to hire locally. I understand that the IDA has a very strict local labor policy, and then you also have a waiver. But it is not the project's plan to pursue a waiver.
So on here, it says 33.4 acres and comment I thought I heard was 24 acres. Which is it?
The subdivided parcel is about 24 acres. So that's where the project array will be. The total is the 34 acres. Ari, is that correct?
All right, thank you.
Maybe add some more context to the answer.
And the tax map ID.
Yeah, the project was initially approved by the Sterling Planning Board in March of 2023. One of their conditions on approval was that we separate the majority of the portion of the property in which the array is going to be located from the residence. That's why the now subdivided parcel is 24.693 acres, and the array is within that parcel only. It is updated on the county tax maps. And I thought there was an additional SBL noted. If we needed any more information submitted to the IDA, just to clarify for you, happy to do that.
Would this resolution need to be amended in some way to identify the? Because it says 33.4 and.
It's the entirety of the tax map ID.
But they subdivided it.
I don't believe, last I checked after reviewing that in the real property site, it's not updated in the site itself, so it doesn't have that tax map ID yet.
All right.
At least assigned yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is, somewhat common for a lot of the different solar projects we've come across.
The county might only be applying like a slash number or an A or a B designation as opposed to a wholly new SBL number.
What are they asking for in the pilot?
It's standard 15-year of what we have, and similar to Finger Lakes Rail project is the initial resolution just provides us the ability to discuss terms, set the public hearing, and to go through that. So we have not had that discussion with their team at this point.
In that case, I'd make the motion to move forward.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Grace, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We haven't voted yet.
So this is the resolution of Cayuga County Industrial Development Agency accepting the application of NY USLE Sterling Station Road 1 LLC, the company with respect to a certain project as defined in the resolution, authorizing the scheduling and conduct of a public hearing with respect to the project and describing the forms of financial assistance being contemplated by the agency, and finally authorizing the negotiation of certain agreements relating to the project. And for a roll call vote, Mr. Vitale?
Yeah.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Mr. Latinishkin is excused. Mr. Lockwood?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Spino?
Yes.
Mr. Reinflush?
Yes.
All present voting aye, with one absent. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you both project teams for attending. We will be in touch.
Yeah, we'll move right along on new business as long as we're there.
Sure.
Audit services.
So included in your packet here is an updated audit services proposal from our current auditor, Danable and McKee. I did have a chance to speak with some of the board members about this. Services have jumped up considerably from what we previously agreed to back in 2022 of roughly 8,000. They are proposing for this next audit year 15,000. The reasons for that, as described to me, was there is substantially more work the IDA is doing at this time. The discount of fees and services that they were providing to the IDA over the last few years, along with increased costs, just blanket across the audit industry itself. That being said, after discussion specifically with John, is we did issue a potential RFP to other auditing firms in the immediate area that would be received by November, I want to say November 8th, ahead of our regular November meeting itself. You still could say, forget that and go with Danable and McKee today. But part of the reason in my discussion with John around that was to have a better sense of what is the market carrying right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think we should proceed with that.
Your motion to go out for RFPs.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's carried.
So was it Gina or Donna that seconded Donna?
Donna. Report from the governance committee.
Yes, we moved to add the change of UTP to exclude prime or prime if drained farmland for the solar applications. But what we'd recommend is that Mike work with the attorneys to get the language updated, and then we have a resolution at the next meeting.
If I may, Andy,
Yeah.
the contemplated language to our UTAP policy is specific around renewable energy projects that more or less encourages development on non-prime farmland. So we have something of a sliding scale of what we charge for per megawatt solar or renewable energy projects. This basically says encouragement of development on non-prime farmland, and we'll charge you more if it is on prime farmland, but without it being so narrowly defined, it provides some flexibility on our end depending on the size and scale and impact of the project as well. So it's not a major update, but enough in there, especially for project applicants that are looking through it to say, okay, that perhaps we should really reconsider this.
Yeah. Be a little bit more flexible.
What's the criterion for prime versus non-prime?
We've used the soil maps from the soil and water.
Okay.
So they have, similar to the real property site, a rate mapping system that identifies soil type and everything else and says, this is great farmland. This would be good farmland if certain factors were added into the equation, and then this is junk. It's not farmland.
Thank you.
And I've spoken directly with them about that. They said they're more than happy to work with us on
Yeah,
any project.
Dale does that. We need a vote.
I
Well,
believe,
I think all we're looking for is to get the language updated. Then I think at our next meeting, we have a board meeting,
I believe.
So this is just
just an
update and a report.
Yeah.
Don't need a vote.
Dana? Michael, I was wondering, Michael, don't we have to make a resolution and I could be messed up here. I've been keeping notes and stuff, but in order for us to get the language to Justin to formalize, don't we have to take some sort of an action, or no, it's next?
I believe you make, so I'm glad Rick and Justin are on the call, is you make the motion to update the contemplated language, and I
Okay.
believe it's a resolution that would have to come before the board next month
Okay.
to officially update the UTEP. But again, that's better answered by the attorneys.
Yeah, the governance committee generally sends up recommendations to the full board. We can work with you folks to finalize the exact language and the proposal. When that's ready, that can be put on a regular board meeting agenda with a approving resolution for adoption. So.
Oh, wonderful, Justin. We did discuss it as the governance committee, and so I think we're comfortable getting it over to you at this point. So it was me, I was trying to find who
Yeah,
just
we
go ahead
can work with you over the course of the next few weeks and get it ready for daylight and adoption.
Awesome.
Is there a motion to accept the report from the,
Oh, well, we had one other thing.
okay,
The nominations, so we discussed keeping you on as chair, myself as vice chair, and John is the treasurer.
Right. Do we want to keep that under that item? Because it says under D, it says report from governance. Do we want to do that under nomination committee? I think there's another
Oh,
one
all
up
right.
top.
Oh.
And it's me, I just
No,
want
no,
to clarify.
we'll take him.
Okay.
We'll say this, right, so act like you didn't hear
okay. Is there a motion to accept the governance committee report?
Yes, we'll move.
it. Second,
Discussion, all in favor?
So I,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
because I think what we had talked about is, right, you had indicated that you're interested in for one more year. So, what?
she said we had to wait.
Oh, it has a different line item for it.
Oh,
So
so
we're
good.
excited, is
Back
what
it
it
up
is,
then?
yeah. Yeah, it's okay. We were just looking at one item
Okay.
now under new business, the D item that is just focused on, the.
Yeah, we're just accepting your
We
report.
did, yeah, it's okay. We were excited. We had a lot of conversations
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
All in favor of accepting the report?
Aye.
Opposed? Report of finance committee, Benny,
I'm not the chair.
but there's only two of us, so.
Okay. All righty, so we went through the budget fairly quickly, but one of the changes that we recommended was that we add a line for contingency of 150,000. The purpose of this is that economic development in Cayuga County right now is kind of like, I don't want to say at a standstill, but at a standstill. We are over our head in all kinds of other issues. And the whole project with the CCDC is kind of on hold right now. And so my recommendation to the finance committee is that we create this contingency account so that moving forward for the next year, if the county would support it, then the IDA could rent some office space, get phone lines and all the things that you need in an office, have an actual meeting place, and have our executive director be the focal point for economic development until the county can figure out everything else that they plan on doing formally. I talked to John about this yesterday because he is the chair of the CCDC. This is totally on an interim basis. It's not something that we're proposing to be more than a year. Hopefully it won't be even a year, but gives us and the county an ability to have a plan to move forward until we can formalize what we really want to do as a county. So speaking with the committee and Mike and Tracy, what we're recommending is to put in on the expenses side contingency account of $150,000. And then hopefully if we did go forward with this, it would be an agreement with the county that they would reimburse us all or part of these expenses that we're incurring. Again, this is not something that is set in stone. It's just giving us the ability to be agile enough to do something. Because honestly, the county budget isn't even started process yet, so we have to have our budget in place before the end of this month. And so it gives us the ability and the flexibility to do something if so.
Is there a motion to accept the finance committee report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, discussion. I'd like to say that we should expedite this. We've been dragging our feet too long. We don't have a home. We need to do something. The county needs to do something. Any further discussion?
I would want, like the 150,000, I mean, are we gonna indicate specifically that what that would be used for? I mean, 150,000 is not rent, right? So.
Well, it would be a combination of a lot of things. It'd be rent, it would be the expenses of, obviously there's gonna be other expenses. Once you have an office, you'll have electricity, you'll have furniture probably, you're gonna have a phone lines, things like that. If we were to agree for Mike to take on more work, it would probably have to look at his salary a little bit. If you're gonna have an office, and you probably have to have a receptionist or somebody to answer the phone. So it's not. I don't think we would ever spend 150,000, but it gives us the ability to manage that whole thing. And obviously, nothing can really happen in a contingency account until this board takes action. So
We'd have to vote to use the contingency monies.
right. So that gives us a little bit more protection too.
So, and just my only other thought is if we're saying for at least a year, right?
Yeah, or up to a year.
Up to a year. I mean, just again, going back to a place to rent and buy furniture and all of that stuff for 1 year is going, is an expense of itself. So, possibly maybe even find something that is already equipped with stuff.
Right.
It might be the smartest way to do it.
That would be up to Mike.
If
Michael
we're
could go
gonna
in.
use for,
Yeah.
just be such a short term, and maybe it won't end up being short term, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what I intend on doing coming into the next meeting is to propose a couple of options, and then I'll speak with you or with you, Gina, as well. Because if your finger on the,
Or we could bribe some
Oh my.
furniture. You never know.
Drive around by yard detail.
But we really do need to look a little bit more professional and have, have a sign on the door somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You
I have.
Mike can't be meeting out of the back of his truck.
Yeah. Well, you and I are used to that.
Yeah, I used to do arraignments out there. with my truck.
I have a question that I thought would be on the income side at the, you have 8.4. Is this, do you feel this is conservative or do you think it's realistic, right on the money? How many of the projects would have to be completed to get to this number?
No, we were pretty good on that.
just two.
Uh-huh.
So in your packet there, it has the assumptions specific to our project pipeline. Two projects in particular, renewable energy, one of which I have very high confidence we will close on next year. The other of which I have pretty good confidence that will also close. So between those two, it's a substantial amount.
No, I appreciate that. I just wanted to ask the question.
That's a good question. Actually, we're still negotiating with stuff with the milk plant too.
Yes, and this, this is all known projects. Who knows what else could potentially arise next year, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Ben. Carried. Okay, we flip back up. I'm finished. Now, board committee and officer nomination, Gina.
He's the chair of it.
Well, you were raising questions.
Well, Ray for chair, me vice chair, and John for treasurer.
Right, but what we had said is that Ray had indicated that he was interested in staying on for another year. So the whole idea is that in another year, you're moving as chair and.
Well, I just said I was interested for another year. I
Yeah,
didn't-
yeah.
Didn't say it was final.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But if you want to do it, you can do it.
No.
Okay, so, that's all I was saying. So I think we're good.
Then motion,
So move.
Second.
thank you. Discussion. Now, do we have to vote on this at our,
You do during your
Organizational.
organizational meeting in December. Reminder, that's typically a noon meeting. We have lunch.
right,
Enjoy yourself a little bit. Is you do go through the selection and nomination of members, council, contracted staff, etc.
so
But as
what are we voting on now then, if we vote?
really nothing, and this is more of just a informal thing.
So
Because
we don't need a vote,
The report of
No.
the
it's just a
committee.
report.
no, but this accomplishes what.
We didn't want to wait till December.
Oh, yes,
And
And
have
that-
chaos.
And that was one
That's
of
only
the
that.
governance committee's objectives for
Last
this
year.
year.
Yeah,
Last year
remember
and
last
this
year?
year.
Yeah, last year it got so crazy.
So we're just gonna vote to accept.
That was already done.
Already
There's
done,
no
okay.
requirement for
Alright.
that.
So it was just a report. We don't need a vote. Okay,
Oh, no vote at all. Okay.
all right, let's move up to my favorite unfinished business. Sewer line.
We do have Steve Mirren on here. Steve, if you could.
Is Rick on?
Rick is on, Steve is on, Chairman Dahl from Water and Sewer is
Right,
also on,
okay.
but not speak. He is in the conference, but
Yep.
able to listen in.
Okay,
Steve, if you don't mind providing an update from last month to this month, quite a bit has been going on.
Yes, we had our initial startup, which was unfortunately unsuccessful. They pulled the pumps after that, updated, got things working, so they say. Carl wants an emergency dialer installed, which was delivered today and should be installed Monday and Tuesday of next week. And at that point, we will be able to resume and have our full startup and should be able to close this out. I know I've said that before, but this should be the nail in the coffin.
What else is on the pump? What's wrong with the pumps?
Oh, at the time, so I think Steve, what he's referring to is the initial soft start on October 2nd, I believe. Could you please describe what happened?
Yeah, the pumps had been installed in January and had sat for a little too long. I think there was a bit of corrosion within the pumps from sitting. So then they couldn't get the initial start. So then they had to pull the pumps and loosen up the actual impellers, and they had done that.
so the pump set there in the sewer line?
Yeah, the pumps sat in the vault.
With water and moisture around it.
But they did pull them out, got them cleaned up. And everything's working as intended.
Yeah,
So
so then-
what's remaining on the punch list then? What remaining actions do we have to do yet?
The final action is install the emergency dialer, which arrived today, and that will be installed Monday, Tuesday of next week. And then we'll have our soft start after that's been completed. And once we do that soft start, we're going to let it run and then hand it over to the.
Do we have the as-built drawings?
We do not have those yet. Those are coming.
What else were you looking at? Well, after yesterday's board meeting, the board wants the equipment manuals, the record drawings, test results and the warranties transferred to the water authority upon completion of the contract. What happened with these pumps is these pumps are not made to sit in sewage if they're not running.
Exactly right.
You know that, Ray.
I can write a book about that.
I'm sure you can. So
They should have never been put in until they were operational.
after these pumps are manufactured, they need to be rotated twice. They need to be spun twice a month. Because the tolerances are so close that they will rust up. They're a fine product, but they need to be properly maintained. But the as-built are key. Right now, if we had to do a UFPR, go out there and find something, we would be kind of lost. Yeah. So we need the as-built.
Where do we get them?
The engineer, there's Steve, right?
Yep, and then Highlander's providing those.
And when will that be available?
They said they had their red lines done and they just have to send them over to me.
Yeah, but when would that be?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll call them after this and have them send them.
And you, who's got all the operating manuals and the warranties and I'm sure there must be some documentation with the pump and the generator and all that.
Yes, all those documents will be sent to Carl.
When's the warranty commenced? From the time of arrival or from the time of startup?
From this time of startup, I believe.
You believe? Okay, can you
Yes.
check that out? 'Cause
Yep.
if I buy a new car, if I don't drive it for a year, the warranty's still over in a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when do you think everything will be rounded up, Steve?
Well, once we get this, start next week. After that, we can dedicate it.
Right, but there's the start, there's the as-built, there's all the documentation for the various components. And then the warranties need to be transferred.
Yep. Yeah, that shouldn't be a heavy lift, so I could, get those next week and then
Whose responsibility is it to transfer the warranty?
You hear that, Steve?
yeah, I'd assume that's on me.
Oh.
Right.
I'm not
Help
sure.
facilitate the
Between the two
transfer
of
of the
them to get
warranty.
it done. So. I guess if we need to take any action at this point, I would say that we have a resolution to authorize our executive director to work with CNS to access and get completed whatever items you want to list and have it done by a certain date so that at the latest next month at this point in time, we'll already have received the resolution from water and sewer and we'd be counting the money.
Well, I think part of that could be that we have a specific list of what they want.
Well, that's what
So if we come to the next meeting and
well,
Carl comes in and says, oh, wait a
Carl's here, you
minute.
should be able to tell us what the list is. I mean,
Yeah.
you just went through it, Ray. I mean,
Well, like I said,
You just read it.
there should be the pump, should be the diesel generator. I don't know if there'd be anything on the electrical. Well, I would just say field manual should encompass all of that.
right.
Right.
They should have those already when they approve the design of the pumps.
You would think
That should
so.
be something that's readily accessible.
It must be in somebody's desk drawer
Yeah.
somewhere.
Anymore, the warranties come on the internet,
Yeah.
which I don't really like, but
In a transfer of warranties is key. I don't have any vehicles to engage a contractor or the pump manufacturer. They work for the IDA, not the water authority.
Yeah, we have the draft documents prepared and they have an assignment of all warranties that the IDA gets. They're going to the Water and Sewer Authority. So legally, anything we have is yours. The contract was signed in 2022 and it's self-operative. So as soon as we're ready to transfer the asset and you're ready to accept it at the Water and Sewer Authority, we sign the agreements. We don't need another resolution this month or next month. We just need
No.
comments on the documents if there are any. We sent them around about a month ago.
I agree, we don't need a resolution, but we would like to see the resolution of water and sewer, and we would like to see the money.
Yes,
The water and sewer passed the resolution yesterday.
yeah, the goal is to check.
Well, the resolution passed upon the satisfaction of Rick Galbao and my accepting the unfinished items. So let's get these things done.
Can you please provide a written set of outstanding items required from water and sewer for acceptance?
Maybe we should be able to do that.
Okay, so we want to make sure, as Mr. Vitale pointed out, going into next month, this is not an outstanding item. I think most board members here would like to get this recurring item off the agenda going forward, but we're not.
Well, one would think we should be able to get it all done next week.
That's my
Right.
perception as well. So aside from what Steve
But we've had a
Marion
lot
together
this week.
Yes.
from the contractor and any comments back from water and sewer on documents prepared for the dedication, we should be good and align that with startup.
All right. All right.
Any more discussion on Ben's? motion? Carl, any more?
No, hopefully next week goes smooth and we're in business.
Steve, do you think we can attempt to schedule a soft start next week if the alarm system is installed Monday, Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm gonna check with them tomorrow and make sure we're on track for that. And then assuming that's installed early in the week, we can complete it later in the
Highlander?
week.
Mhm. Where are we with the grant?
EDA grant is waiting on final disbursement requests. I think Tracy can attest to, much easier to deal with the EDA. For the ESD grant, we have a good handful of outstanding items right now, working on an additional extension requests from them. So I spoke with Steve actually this morning about that. I think we have all the items together to get through a very short-term extension. And going through that reimbursement process is going to be quite different from the EDA. For the ESD one, we have to wait until the project is fully complete and then supply them with invoices for reimbursement there.
So how much of the grants would be for us?
What do you mean specifically?
How much money?
The ESD is 283,000. The EDA grant was in excess of $1 million. We're almost tapped out on that one there. Along with the dedication monies from water and sewer, that should be 400,000. So with all of that, at the end of the day, we're still losing a bit of money. At the last cost reconciliation I did to date for the project is the IDA is out roughly 113,000 to date. And that's going back to phase 1 of the project.
Do we have a resolution to vote on? Yeah, right?
Yes, yeah.
I just clarified that.
I
I
wanted
just
to
want to
know
make
if-
another comment, but I think we gotta get through the resolution before I.
Any further discussion on Ben's motion? All in favor?
What was the motion?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It has nothing to do
What
with
was your motion?
That Mike works with Steve to get all the documentation and everything that the Water and Sewer Authority is going to provide to him. And preferably have this done before the end of next week.
All right.
Friday deadline.
Friday deadline. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
It's not related to that.
So my comment on, us losing $100 and some $1,000 on this project, I think it points out something that we need to keep in mind. We're not a utility organization. We have no business in doing any utilities. And if you want to look back at the right of way that we have with BOCES, we have no use for a right of way for any type of utility, and I think we should rescind that right of way back to BOCES.
Well, it's not a new statement on my part that I don't want to be in the water and sewer business. The only reason we got into it was with the milk plant. Years ago, when I first got on the board, we got out of the sewer business. We actually turned that over to the town. Did you end up with a Carl or not? The one from D&W and all the way down?
No, I think Tom Rose is gonna.
Yeah, we turned that over to the town. So we were in the sewer business then.
Well, years ago, they were in the sewer business in Weedsport too, and that
Yes.
turned out to be a mess.
It's always,
So we have no business being in any type of utility business.
no.
No, but we humbly disagree. Part of industrial development, just like when we were looking at property, it's the utilities, and that's part of our role.
Infrastructure.
Is to provide infrastructure if it's necessary. But I agree with Ray. As soon as the infrastructure is there, then it should get turned over.
We ended up with the sewer projects. Tracy did the one, and then Mike, did the other.
Right.
Was because the milk plant, and that we could expedite it.
Well,
quicker than some other agency.
Well, it was just like the county giving the money to the water and sewer to give to us. The IDA can do things that the water and sewer
It's all the
can't.
vehicles.
Yeah, so it's, we wouldn't want to limit that ability.
I agree that utilities are part of economic development,
Right.
but we have other organizations within Cayuga County that should be dealing with those items. And it would be important for the IDA to work with them and not be the organization that actually does this type of work.
And Trace can give you the history of how we got into it with the milk plant, so.
Well, we know how we got into it with the milk plant.
Tracy, were you gonna say something?
Nope, worked it out.
She was an expert on sewers.
Michael set me straight, so
Does that happen a lot or?
No.
occasionally.
Sometimes it might be the opposite too, so it goes both ways.
Okay, anything else on?
I was just going to say, I think that the point is, about, are we gonna get involved in it and then, being at a disadvantage? Because if we're at a loss of 113, do we want to continue to get into a space where understanding that, we have to be flexible, so with that we can get through and support things.
There's that one
looking at the
size fits
picture.
all.
Exactly. So with that understanding, don't we think that there would be a need for us to, I don't know if it means adjusting the policies or so, but we definitely don't want to run at a loss when we take on these
Well,
types of projects.
it's a loss, but it's a gain. It's.
We
If
It's
I
a
gave
gain
you an
for-
account of the pilots that we got from the milk plant. then
Yeah, we
It's
didn't
a
lose-
gain.
We didn't lose money.
Okay, well, what about the 113 that we're discussing?
I-
Well, we're gonna get it.
I think what Ray is saying is, it was a calculated investment to say for the retention of someone like Cayuga Milk and ingredients and the expansion to a larger facility. This was a necessary and worthwhile project. But the length of this particular project, number of delays and everything else, I can sympathize with a lot of the board members' frustration getting to this point. But I do absolutely believe the IDA can and should be involved from any sort of infrastructure improvements, maybe not as a lead though. I don't know from a grant recipient perspective, so I'm kind of looking at Tracy, 'cause she's been involved a bit more, is we assign sub-recipients to that. So if we're the applicant for the grant, can we assign the sub-applicant who is really in that utility, whether it's water and sewer or someone else, of you run it. You run the thing. We got the money, you run it. Rather than really managing that whole process.
I think to your point, if I remember correctly, when we met with Mr. Kotar, that we were the lead on that. And that's why we're in this position, yet we were able to levy those grant funds for the project. It took a while, you're right, but the end justifies the mean, I think. It's cost of doing business.
Yeah.
No grant is 100%, but yeah.
Right.
We expended 100,000 and got a huge project.
And how many jobs do we end up figuring we'll end up adding?
Well, I think the initial was probably 100 or so.
Yeah.
And they're probably, I think they added to that.
Yeah.
Because now instead of subbing out their transportation, they actually do the 10.
Yeah.
So I think, yes.
Because I know I heard them recently mentioning about potential
But up to 150
expansion.
And there's another one coming.
Right.
So, in that regards,
There's
another-
a little bit more.
they're gonna double their size.
Right, so they're talking about another 100.
Well, they haven't opened a new plant.
Yeah,
And that'll
Yeah,
add
so
another
that-
80.
that 100's just gonna go away because of
Yeah.
what we'll gain. So, good investment.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think if you look at it in totality, you're looking at going 100, probably, they'll probably push up to a couple hundred jobs. We got the pilots, we got the money for that, and we did pretty good. Justin negotiated some good deals on the pilot. I mean, we've gotten a lot of income from that milk plant. So
That's
for,
one item, it's a good business decision. In the future, we'll look at things, as it should be.
Yeah.
It's quite nuanced, clearly it's quite nuanced, so we look at things individually and know though that we're just not in utilities and we can tap into what, the resources
Yeah.
for the experts to handle things in the future, but
and one of,
clearly, it's
Well, one
not
thing is told us,
butter,
is
clearly.
we went after a different grant.
Right.
yes,
We went at, what was it, 75% grant? The last one we
Yeah.
did.
and that was
That's-
probably a good decision though.
Yeah, but that's what stalled the whole process is we had to go through that next grant applications.
And
But it's good to look back as to where we were and how we got to here.
And keep in mind too, we're not done expanding with this project.
That's right.
This project could grow substantially more. I mean, but we've got the seed there. And they're not done yet. That's just the milk plant. But off of that agency, the milk plant, the business, there's more growth coming. I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a big part of it.
yeah, that's a great point, Bob.
Yeah, they probably got 100 trucks.
Yeah.
We need an executive session.
That's not.
And do we need to go into an executive session?
Anything else come before us then? A motion?
Your turn. So we'll,
Second.
All in favor? Thanks.
Yeah, you don't want to hear about upcoming.
Oh.
Of course not.
Upcoming events.
As always, got your outstanding
I
AVO
jumped around so
training.
much.
For next month's meeting, it just happens to be on the same day as the County Board of Supervisors meeting right after our meeting. So,
And you're gonna speak at that, right?
or I'm just gonna eat their food. No, that's the intention, as discussed earlier this year, is rather than blinding them and go to them.
And
So,
that's at Laska's, right?
yes,
Laska's?
yes.
We should go.
when is it?
November 21st.
All right.